So I mentioned before that I'm not a confident person, and I'd like to share with you, if I can, an example. I had spent many years teaching people in classroom settings and then going onto stage with a microphone and those nerves kicking in and then getting used to it. And then I had to move to digital technology. Now there's a bonus module on this program all about delivering a message with confidence, clarity, and credibility using digital technology. But if I take you back a few years now, I'm going to play for you a small clip of me doing my first ever bit of presenting to camera. Now I have to say, it is totally embarrassing. Number one, I've got more hair. Number two, I look younger. But the worst thing is I look like I'm dead inside. Have a look at this video. It's based on a program that I'd written called The Choice, and it's me delivering something to video. And just what do you think of it?
Hi, my name is Darren Thomas, and I'm a personal leadership and motivational coach. A few years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting the British Disabled Skiing Team and a lady by the name of Dr. Janet Gray. All of these people had had things happen to their lives that for most people would lead them to lead substandard lives. But the British Disabled Skiing Team included members who were skiing down mountains, who were completely blind, or had lost an arm, or a leg, or even two arms or two legs. And Dr. Janet Gray, at the age of 21, lost her eyesight.
Now I'm going to cut that there because it's totally embarrassing. That goes on for 6.5 minutes. And I have to say, it's really embarrassing, but I wanted to show you that it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past. The past does not equal the future. We can all get better. As I watched that video, I noticed my eyes are dead. My voice is flat. My body language is awful. And I stumbled over a number of words. Now, it is okay to stumble over words if all of the other things are working well. So the eye contact is there, there's energy in your voice. And if you forget a word, I have forgotten many words as I'm recording this program. That's okay. We're not looking, remember, for perfection. We're just looking for progress. So in terms of that internal dialogue, there's one English word that can really help transform a sentence and build a slightly better future. If I say I'm not good at presenting, and I've been saying that to myself or to other people, I am talking about my performance in the past and I'm prophesizing about my future capability. But if I add one word and it's only got 3 letters to it, my whole belief system shifts. So if I change from I'm not good at presenting, which is about the past and the future, and add one word, I'm not good at presenting yet. Now, when I add the word yet, I've now said I've not been good at presenting in the past, but my possibility of presenting better in the future suddenly becomes more believable and therefore achievable. So language that we use with ourselves and other people is really, really important. So let's give you a couple of examples. So if we say, I'm not good at presenting, well, let's change that to, I'm not good at presenting yet. If we say I'm not good at presenting, let's change it to, I'm not as good as I want to be yet. If you're saying to yourself, I'm not good at presenting, let's change it to, and I'm going to practice to get better. These keywords are absolutely critical for us to build the confidence to continue to grow. So what about body language itself? There's a really interesting piece of research by a lady called Amy Cuddy. Now, Amy Cuddy is a professor of psychology. She's a social psychologist at Harvard Business School. And she did this experiment a number of years ago based around her observation of students in her class. And it was usually those people who were keeping quiet. They had the ability, they had the knowledge, but they kept quiet in class. And Amy Cuddy realized that if they kept quiet in class, that may well influence their willingness to speak up later on in their business life. And what she looked at is the relationship between something called power posing. So looking up versus looking down. And it's really interesting when we look at the relationship between up and down. She likened this to two key hormones, testosterone and cortisol. Now, testosterone is the hormone that is released when we are feeling confident. And if we're feeling stressed, cortisol is released. And when we link these two hormones to body language, it was very, very interesting. Let's take a look. So as I said, her name is Amy Cuddy, and she has a very interesting video on TED Talks if you want to learn more about this. But notice language we use. If you've ever said, I'm feeling low, I'm under the weather, I'm feeling a bit down, we often associate looking down with negative feelings and negative emotions. But if we compare that to this language, things are looking up, I'm on a high, I'm getting promoted rather than demoted, you'll notice that all of those things are aimed at upwards motion. And what Amy Cuddy studied, and she looked at this doing saliva tests with people and monitoring their testosterone and cortisol. And she got people to look down, what we call a low power pose. So sitting down, looking bored, facial expressions low. And what they noticed after 2 minutes, in every single case, cortisol was rising and testosterone was decreasing, which means people were beginning to feel and exhibit more stress in their body, even if they weren't thinking stressful thoughts. Just because they were looking down, it gave the impact of cortisol rising and testosterone decreasing. But when we got people to look up, what we call a high power pose, so this could be arms outstretched, this could be, if I show you here, this could be arms outstretched, this could be looking up, looking confident. Guess what? Testosterone increased and cortisol decreased after, guess what? Just 2 minutes. So before you go out and do a presentation, one of the best things you can do is just spend maybe 2 minutes looking up, walking with energy, walking around, putting your hands up. You don't do this when you're doing the presentation. You do this before the presentation. And I've seen so many people, when you're waiting to do a presentation, people are looking down at their phones, they're looking down at their notes. That's the wrong thing to be doing. We need to be looking up, because when we do, it gives us great confidence. I have to say, when I first watched that video, I was a bit skeptical. I felt that I was very confident in presenting this. I'd had a lot of opportunity to do so. But I thought I'd give it a go, because I'm a big believer in testing out theories and testing out science. So I gave it a go, and I have to say, I do this now on every single time I present. I make sure that I do stand up, I look up, even if it's a conference facility, I'll stand at the back of the room and I'm just stretching myself up before I go on stage. If you don't feel comfortable doing that with people around you, go into a bathroom stall and just look up and give yourself that positive energy, because I know that it works. But if you don't believe me, try it for yourself. That's the one thing. Test it, test it, test it. Because when you do, you'll see for yourself whether it's a viable option that you can use moving forward. But I'd also say, go to TED Talks, go to YouTube, have a look at Amy Cuddy's video. So Amy Cuddy, A-M-Y, Amy, and then the family name is C-U-D-D-Y. Have a look at that and see what you think. So the final part of this module is to give you some tactical actions, some tactical things, as well as looking up, that can really help you deliver your presentation with confidence, clarity, and credibility. So number one, go to the toilet before you speak. It's an obvious one, but go to the toilet, wash your hands, get yourself nice and fresh, and get yourself ready. I think most of the time I do this before I speak, no closer than 15 minutes before I speak. Otherwise, I'm starting to get a little bit anxious, and I want to make sure that I'm ready. Make sure you take a water bottle or a glass. I would recommend a water bottle if you're nervous, because then you minimize the risk of any spillage, should your hands be shaking a little bit. If you can, meet the audience beforehand, welcome people. I think that's a great way of just building energy. Yes, you can do this, obviously, if you're doing presentations internally to people that you know. If you're doing it to a new audience, I would totally recommend it. It gives you a chance to gauge what the audience is like, what their language skills are like, what type of person they are. It's a great technique. Key one, get to the room early to set up. Look, the golden rule of presenting, if it can go wrong, it will. So you'll have laptop failures, a projector failure, maybe the screen won't come down, the HDMI cable won't connect properly. Something will go wrong. So I would always get to a room that I've never been to before an hour beforehand. That gives me time to get the technical stuff set up, and then it gives me time to get water and obviously to go for a bathroom break. If you're going to be playing any videos, if you're going to be playing any audio, test it first. Really, really important that you test any of the visual aids to make sure that they are working. And in line with Amy Cuddy's power posing, go for a walk before. You've got everything ready, the water's on there, you've been to the toilet, the audio is working. Go for a walk beforehand and walk quickly. If you're in an office and you can't really go out, maybe it's a rainy day, run up and down some stairs if that's an option. Small little things like that will just help build some of that core energy. But the key thing is to remember this. If you want to get better at something, you just have to practice. The more you practice, the better you are going to get. The more you expose yourself to presentation environments, the more that you will learn about what works and what doesn't work. You can never learn to drive a car by sitting in the passenger seat. You can learn the knowledge, but until you've got to apply that knowledge, you're not going to be able to drive. So the key is to get in front of an audience as much as you can, to have that confidence that your voice deserves to be heard, that people need to showcase their talent. Remember, if a company has great products, but poor marketing, the value of that product drops. You have got great ideas inside of you, and your audience deserves to hear them. You deserve the audience to hear your views. It doesn't mean they're always going to get adopted. It doesn't mean that people are going to implement your ideas all the time. But at least you get your voice heard, and that's what the world needs right now. So that's the end of this module. I hope it was useful to you. Remember that positive mindset is absolutely vital. Talk kindly to yourself, turn up, show up, and practice, practice, practice.